Today we celebrate the memorial of St. John of Capistrano. He was born in 1386 and was ordained at the age of 34 to the Franciscan order. At the time of St. John's ordination, 1/3 of the population of Europe and nearly 40% of the clergy were wiped out by the bubonic plague. The Roman Catholic Church was at odds with itself with the Great Schism. 2 or 3 claimants presented themselves to the Holy See. England and France were at war, and the city-states of Italy were constantly in conflict. After St. John's ordination as a priest in the Franciscan order, he and 12 of his brothers went into Central Europe to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ at a time when there was great apathy toward religion and faith. Tradition tells us that these Franciscan brothers were received as angels of God and were instrumental in reviving a dying faith and devotion. This past Monday, in reading from St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, he reminded the believers of Ephesus of the life they had before they found faith in Jesus Christ. In chapter 2, St. Paul said, "You were dead in your transgressions and sins in which you once lived, following the age of this world." In today's reading from chapter 4, he reminds the Ephesians and us how we are to live. He says, "In a manner worthy of the call we have received, with humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another through love, striving to preserve the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. One body, one Spirit." Similarly then, in today's gospel, Jesus challenges his disciples by the way they are living their lives. He challenges how people are willing to learn the ways of civil justice so that they do not get caught unprepared and end up in a terrible state. Yet, when it comes to paying attention to signs of the time and the end of time, little or no concern is given. We today find ourselves 1 week from Election Day in the United States. Fortunately, many of us have followed the trickery of this world to similarly distract us from the truth of the gospel. The urgency of living the gospel message of love is as imminent today as it was when Jesus spoke to his disciples. St. Francis de Sales reminds us that nothing is as strong as gentleness, nothing so gentle or loving as strength. For St. Paul, humility was not weakness. He says, "Christ himself is the humility of God embodied in human nature, the eternal love humbling itself, clothing itself in the garb of meekness and gentleness." May we take courage by the example of St. John of Capistrano as we live out our Christian values and continue to evangelize our world with the love of Christ. Just a few days before Election Day, in the midst of a pandemic, racial tensions, economic instability, emotional distress, and more, let us, like John of Capistrano and his 12 brethren, humbly walk out into our world to live the message of the love of Jesus Christ. As we read in Psalm 24, "The Lord's are the earth and its fullness, the world and those who dwell in it."